Good evening and welcome to the Planning Board meeting for Monday, December 12th, 2022. It is 6:02 and I'm going to call the meeting to order. Before we begin our meeting, there will be a general period of public comment tonight during oral communications. Persons speaking during the general public comment period may provide the Planning Board oral communication on any matter concerning city business. Members of the public may comment in person or by telephone during the general public comment period. If you would like to participate in the public comment period by making an in-person comment, please present a completed speaker card to the Planning Division staff. If you would like to participate in the public comment period by phone, please call 818-238-3335. We'll announce when the phone lines are open. We will start with an invocation given by Board Member Wick, and I'll lead us in the flag salute. If you'll please rise.
All right, please bow your head with me. Let us give thanks together, each and every one of us, according to our individual beliefs. Let us offer thanks that we can gather today. Let us be a source of hope for those in need and for those who are lonely. Let us give gratitude for the opportunity to serve the city of Burbank tonight, and let us have feelings of love, kindness tonight. Amen.
Thank you. Please join us and join me in saluting our flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we get the roll call, please?
Board Member Wick,
Present.
Board Member Monaco,
Here.
Chair Rosati,
I'm here.
Vice Chair Atikunian,
Gleefully present.
and Board Member Elric.
Present.
Thank you.
Do we have any announcements?
No announcements.
Okay. We have 3 hearings tonight. We'll get started with item number 1. Now is the time and place for hearing on project number 21003276, a request for a conditional use permit to expand an incidental on-site sale and consumption of alcohol to the proposed 675 square foot outdoor dining area, the existing restaurant Granada Restaurant, located at 1100 Victory Boulevard. Before we begin, do any planning board members have any legal, financial, or other conflict of interest regarding this hearing?
No.
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 No. Have any planning board members had any communications, including written, oral, with the applicant, the applicant's representative, or any other persons?
No.
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 No. Mr. Ramirez, have notices by law been given?
Yes, they have.
Are there any written communications on this matter?
We did receive 2 written communications on this particular item, and they were provided to the board.
Thank you. Will the representative of the Community Development Department please introduce yourself and summarize the matter for us?
Thank you, Chair.
Sir?
Could I get the presentation on the screen?
Bear with us. We're going to get the presentation online right now. They're just loading it up.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Rosati and Planning Board members. My name is David Kim, Associate Planner with the City of Burbank Community Development Department Planning Division. This evening, I will be presenting to the Planning Board a conditional use permit application for a project site located at 1100 West Victory Boulevard. The proposed conditional use permit is to request an existing restaurant located at the project site to expand the incidental sale of alcohol for on-site consumption to the proposed 675 square foot outdoor dining area of the existing 3,494 square foot restaurant. The current restaurant business at this location is Granada Restaurant. The project site is shaded in red on this vicinity map. As shown, the subject property is located between West Victory Boulevard and West Burbank Boulevard, east of Mariposa Street. As for the project site and the surrounding uses, the project site is surrounded by residential uses to the west, open space and residential use to the east, commercial uses to the south, and residential and commercial uses to the north. The zoning of the property is C2, commercial limited business, and R4, multifamily residential. The current restaurant is located in the C2 zone of the subject property. Burbank Municipal Code, Section 10-1-11163.3 requires that restaurants with incidental sale and consumption of alcohol that is within 150 feet of residential zone must first obtain a planning board approval of a CUP. The project site is located within 150 feet of a residential zone and is therefore subject to a CUP. The general plan land use designation of the project site is commercial corridor and medium density residential. The general plan land use designation of the adjacent properties include regional commercial, low density and medium density residential to the north, medium density residential and corridor commercials to the south, open space to the east, and North Victory commercial industrial to the south. The applicant is Granada Restaurant, and they are considered a sit-down restaurant. The restaurant use is a permitted use in the C2 zone. In July 13, 2020, the Planning Board approved Resolution 3414 to allow incidental alcohol sales and consumption to an existing 240 square foot outdoor dining area with hours of operation from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily for both inside the restaurant and also the outdoor dining area. At the time, Granada Restaurant was subject to an alcohol CUP for incidental alcohol sale consumption, which was approved by the Planning Board by the city in the early 1970s. As part of this CUP application review, staff did also contact the city's police department about the project. The police department did not have any comments on the current CUP requests. And for the past 12 months, there have been no calls for services related to noise complaints from the restaurant's operation. Granada Restaurants currently occupies an existing 3,494 square foot commercial building on a 0.39 acre site located at the intersection of Victory Boulevard and Burbank Boulevard, south of the existing Costco Wholesale. The project site is also improved with an existing 1,316 square foot residential building situated behind the existing restaurant and an existing surface parking lot with 28 parking spaces that is used by the restaurant patrons. The existing 240 square foot outdoor dining will no longer be used. The proposed 675 square foot outdoor dining area, shaded in purple, is the new outdoor dining area considered for the restaurant. Granada Restaurant is requesting a CUP to allow on-site sale and consumption of alcohol to the proposed 675 square foot outdoor dining area in conjunction with the existing restaurant. As mentioned in the previous slide, the CUP is required because this project site is located within 150 feet of a residential zone, and the existing restaurant with incidental alcohol requires the CUP in this case because they are expanding the sale and consumption of alcohol to a new outdoor dining area and also proposing to extend the hours of operation. The applicant also has a current existing Type 47 alcohol license from the California Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. The business proposes to operate during the hours of 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. Friday through Sunday. The outdoor dining area will be available from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. The existing hours of the operation for the restaurant was from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. As proposed, again, the hours for the outdoor dining will end at 10 p.m. As part of the review for the CUP, staff had reviewed the definition of a restaurant with incidental alcohol. As proposed, the Granada Restaurant will continue to operate as an existing bona fide restaurant that has 65% of the gross sales revenue of the establishment from food sales. In addition, there is to be no dancing at the establishment. And third, any area of the establishment devoted primarily to the sale or consumption of alcohol should not constitute more than 15% of the adjusted gross floor area of the restaurant. Staff has determined that the Granada Restaurant meets these criteria. Staff also recommends conditions of approval to ensure that the restaurant's operation does not impact neighboring properties. These include having that the alcohol sales only occur during the same business hours as the food is sold. In addition, the following conditions of approval related to the restaurant's operations are recommended. No open alcoholic beverages may leave the premises. No illuminated alcohol advertising shall be located on the storefront windows or doors. No loitering or public drinking signs shall be posted inside and outside the facility. And a restaurant shall continue to provide employee training in alcohol beverage compliance, crime prevention and techniques, and the handling of violence in accordance with ABC. The proposed floor plan shows the layout of the existing restaurant and the proposed outdoor dining area. As proposed, the existing restaurant building footprint is not being expanded, but a new outdoor dining area is proposed to be provided in a different location of the subject property. The restaurant consists of a dining area, an existing bar area, and kitchen and restroom area. The new outdoor dining area will be located to the rear of the existing restaurant, west of the existing residential building on the project site. The proposed 675 square foot outdoor dining area is proposed to be covered also with a new trellis structure over the outdoor dining area. Staff reviewed the proposed structure, and it does meet the development standards of the city's C2 zone, which is where the proposed structure is located. As discussed and outlined in the staff report, the project request is consistent with the city's general plan, specifically the corridor commercial land use designation that the restaurant is located in. The corridor commercial land use supports encouraging neighborhood serving and pedestrian-friendly commercial developments. The existing restaurant is consistent with this goal. Granada Restaurant is requesting to expand the incidental of alcohol to the proposed rear 675 square foot outdoor dining area, allowing customers in the outdoor dining area to purchase and also consume alcoholic beverages with their meals at the restaurant. The CUP request will be consistent with the goal of the corridor commercial land use designation, as it intends to encourage the outdoor experience and therefore promoting a pedestrian-friendly environment. The project will also be consistent with the city's zoning regulations. It would also be consistent with the required 6 conditional use findings, and would also be subject to the recommended conditions of approval to ensure ongoing compatibility with the surrounding uses. Before I get to the next slide, as mentioned, there were 2 public comments received for this project before the meeting. In addition to this, staff has received 2 comments from the public regarding concerns about the project. In response to the public comments, staff recommends that the board add the following consider the following conditions of approval to be added. These conditions include that live entertainment be limited to indoor amplified music inside the restaurant building. And 2, that the applicant shall work with the city's community development department and the city's traffic engineer in restriping the existing parking lot and identifying the on and off-site signage that could possibly be installed to improve vehicle circulations. With that, therefore, staff recommends the following, that the planning board adopts a resolution of the planning board of the city of Burbank approving a conditional use permit, project number 21-0003276, allowing the expansion of the incidental sale of alcohol for on-site consumption to the proposed rear 675 square foot outdoor dining area of the existing Granada restaurant located at 1100 West Victory Boulevard, based on the findings of facts and subject to the recommended conditions of approval as amended. This concludes my presentation. Staff is here to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to add to David's suggested conditions of approval for you all to consider. And that is that on the one regarding working with the city and the traffic engineer, that one of the things that could be included based on their analysis is the implementation of an on-site valet service to assist with parking. What that'll do is that would also help not only to monitor parking on-site, but then also to correct any potential confusion as far as people potentially parking on neighboring property. But that would be clearly with the analysis of the city's traffic engineer going forward. If
So
that's-
we're not going to require valet unless the engineer.
Correct. If the design of the parking lot is reconfigured to address the concerns, and that is sufficient, then that's satisfactory. However, if it requires, as part of the traffic engineer's analysis, the need for someone to, in essence, kind of manage the parking in real time, then having that as an option for the city on the project would be one that I would want to make sure we put at least in the condition.
So that'd be condition number 34?
I don't know the number, but yeah, if that would be one of the conditions. And it's not atypical. I know you guys are familiar. We've done other restaurant projects in the city where we have valet service. included as part of it. And that's probably a good way to manage the parking if it gets to that point.
Got it. Okay. We will now open up the meeting to hear from any persons, oh, sorry, excuse me. I will now invite the applicant or the representative to address the planning board. You will have a maximum time of 15 minutes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
David. Mic open? Okay. Good evening. I'm Dito Camacho. I'm the architect on the project. And as we discussed with David and staff, we will work with traffic and planning so we can address the issue with the parking. So we have to restripe. We'll do that, put signage on it. And for any reason it doesn't manage, we can hire that billet service to take care of this problem.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
No.
Okay, thank you for coming. We will now open up the meeting to hear from any persons who wish to speak on this matter. Each person may address the planning board for a maximum time of 3 minutes. For members of the public who wish to speak, who wish to comment in person, please present a completed speaker card to the planning division staff if you wish to speak. For members of the public that wish to comment by telephone, please call 818-238-3335 to address the planning board. Callers will be placed in a queue until all in-person comments have been received. The phone lines are now open. Please bear with us as we take a few minutes for the first few callers to get in. For callers, please remember to lower the volume on your TV, computer, and to take the phone off speaker when you deliver your comment. Madam Clerk, we have 3 cards in front of me. Do we have any other speakers here tonight or any callers? So we got one caller, so why don't we take the in-person? So the first card I have is from Mr. Eaton. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Wendell Eaton. I'm nearly a resident for 50 years here in the city. And you can go out into this community today and you could find some lively debates. Corner Cottage or Larry's Hot Dog, who's got the best breakfast burritos? You can go say Great Grill or Mr. Big Burger, the best hamburgers.
Great Grill.
Great Grill, if you've ever been there. Talleyrand or Coral Cafe. And the list goes on. And even though all of these restaurants are different, they're all unique in that they share one thing, and that is generational patronage. This community loves its institutions and its restaurants. And my family has been going to the applicant's restaurant since the day it opened. My children had their first meals there, and my father asked to go there as I took him home from St. Joe's Hospital to hospice care, where he died a couple of days later. It was his last meal. So we love these institutions, we care about them, and we think it's really important that our elected officials know when you're making decisions about these restaurants, how important they are to the community. Now, I spoke online maybe a year or two ago as we were trying to get through the COVID crisis, and the applicant had requested a temporary installation outside for outdoor dining to help manage the COVID crisis, and I think I was the only caller. And I want to applaud you for granting that, because I really think it helped the restaurant in managing that crisis. And now, COVID may have passed, but still the economy is very fragile, and they're doing the best they can to keep the restaurant, entertaining and relevant and freshened up. And all they're doing now is trying to take that temporary installation that you granted 2 years ago and make it a permanent installation. So no longer will there be the membrane structure, but a fixed structure. The footprint, I think, is fairly close to the same. So what I'm asking is that before you go and impose things on a restaurant that's been there for 50 years, like a valet, when we recognize that there are triangles of alleys and noise complaints that may be anecdotal and not completely related to the restaurant at all, that you consider that they've been in this configuration for over a year. There has not been a significant amount of complaints. They've not been declared to be a nuisance under this current configuration that they have. So please consider that in granting approval for the CUP. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Our next speaker, and I can't read the last name, Matavi?
So Chair Rosati, my understanding is the two others didn't want to speak. They might have marked it, but they were in, I think it says support. Is that the one?
Oh, it just says support, so they don't want to speak.
No, I think they
Okay.
just wanted their information on
Okay.
record.
So, wish not to speak, okay. Any other speakers? Anyone on the phone line? Let's have it.
It seems like they hung up.
They hung up. Do you want to give them, let's give them a second.
Okay.
Anything? No? All right, great. Let's move on. Would the representative of the Community Development Department like to make any further comments?
Chair, no comments.
Thank you. Does the applicant want to make any further comments? Come on up, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Javier Montoya. I'm the manager from the Granada Restaurant. I've been working there for 38 years, since 1985. I've been running the restaurant for 36 years. So mostly the employees been there for a while also. And we try to do the best we can to keep it open,
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we do the best we can, to. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Montoya, will you wait right there for a second? Because we're going to maybe have some questions for you, and I don't want you to walk all the way back there. Okay. So any other comments that you'd like to make?
Not really.
Okay. So does the board have any questions for staff or the applicant? The applicant's here if you have questions for him. Mr. Eldridge?
I have a few questions. I know you guys say hasn't been any noise complaints for a year. When we get applications, they tend to let us know this institution's been here for 20, 30 years and have never had a noise complaint. So I'm just interested in how many noise complaints this restaurant has had, and it's
Well, we have the applicant here, so let's ask the applicant a question if you have an applicant question.
okay.
Applicant question? Yes. Sir?
How do you feel about the conditions that were just announced here, the three conditions? And specifically, I'm interested in your comments on the valet.
Yeah, honestly, in the past, happened once in a while when the neighborhood complain about or clients using the parking lot, but we go outside and try to take care, and we're gonna post signs to the customers inside the restaurant. They're not allowed to use the neighborhood parking lot,
Okay. Any questions? I have a question if you do.
And also, we have, because the trash container, it's right between the wall and the neighborhood. We got it's been a long time, we got a complaint about because the trash company, they don't pick them up the trash. So we add another day, they pick it up like 4 times a week. And also, we have a company, they clean the bin every month, every other month we try to keep it happy all the neighborhood.
Sure. Sure. Mr. Monaco?
Thank you, Mr. Montoya, for coming.
No.
I just have two observations. Obviously, there's a concern about the parking and the traffic flow, et cetera. And I, like anything else, I would like to try to keep that simple. I don't want to, say, oh, we must have a valet. I would like to see if maybe you can come up with a solution. For instance, just have someone in the parking lot just making sure that nobody parks in the spots. But I think what I just want to, the comment is that, we have to focus on that parking, and I'm sure that you're more than committed to try to do something about that, but I just want to emphasize that's a big issue that I see coming up.
Yeah, since COVID, the affect everybody in the whole world. So it's businesses up and down, to solve, but we have to have in valet parking. There's no choice.
And just the only clarification is the sale of alcohol is for seated patrons who are having dinner, right? There's no standing bar, correct?
No.
No, okay, that's all.
Ms. Wick?
Yes, I just have a couple of questions. If your hours are expanded, is the restaurant planning on hiring more staff or using existing staff?
But we're planning to hire some more staffs and try to be there as much as we can. Me as manager and my assistant manager is here, Sergio. Sometimes we be there 8 days a week. Yeah.
Of course. This kind of leads into my next question. Where do employees park? Do they use the 28 parking spaces, or do they park in the residential neighborhood?
On the weekends, they're parking outside on the streets.
Okay.
Yeah, we prefer, the customers to.
Sure, of course,
Yeah.
of course. And then with the outdoor seating until 10 o'clock, are you seating customers until 10, or are you stopping serving?
No, we stop serving.
You stop serving at 10.
And the last call, we will half an hour before we close.
Okay. And so if somebody sits down at 9:30, you let them know they have to
Yeah.
eat fast and drink fast?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely,
All right.
yes.
That's all the questions I have for the applicant.
I had a couple of questions myself. So it says there shall be no more than 2 billiard tables at the establishment. Do you have pool tables at your place?
No.
Do you want pool tables at your place?
Only for me. No.
And then, are you planning on putting any TVs on the patio?
Since customers loves sports, we can't allow to have one TV outside.
You're looking at me, go ahead.
Yeah, no, they may not recall, but I believe when we had this item come to you previously, that was a point of the commission, or board, I'm sorry, you will be
Right.
commission eventually, of no outdoor, TVs, no outdoor entertainment. So one of the conditions that we've talked about, based on what we got comments about the loud noise and mariachi, is to limit that. So outdoor is for dining, you can serve alcohol, but not for entertainment or amplified sound. So I would think this is a bit of we're kind of threading the needle here when it comes to neighboring land uses, that initially that was a condition previously on the project. It remains the same.
The reason why I ask is it says, and I read the conditions of approval, I don't see where it says specifically TVs. It says outdoor speakers or amplified music.
My recollection is when last this came, and I'd have to go back,
It's TVs too.
is you mentioned, I remember you asking the question, of the applicant, are you going to have TVs out there? And they
Right.
said no.
Okay.
But he said yes.
Yeah, and to be clear though, we can clarify that in the condition if
We
so
should.
desired.
We should.
Sure.
We should. And then, so I'm just confused about the part, I've been to the restaurant a million times. So is there an issue with people parking in an auxiliary parking lot? Or is it all your parking in that one area?
All that belongs to the restaurant,
So are people parking in a different location?
No, it's just two parkings, one from this side and one for that side. But like I say, it's been a long time especially because we have lot of people go for many years, the old people it's parking in somebody else's property. But right now, the owner from that house go and tell us, go to the restaurant, and we take care of that problem. So it's-
Okay, any more questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Questions, Mr. Monaco, for staff?
Elric. Just about the noise complaints. And then I had another question about, like if there's if we can implement some sort of 1 hour parking on the street, if that's an issue. And the last thing was, there's complaints from the neighbors that they're parking in their parking spaces and they have a tow away sign that they can't really enforce because they have to pay for the towing themselves. So I was wondering if the applicant would be able to pay for the tow if required. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Mr.
I just have a question as far as the TVs, just for clarification. Is it possible to have a TV in the patio, but the sound cannot be turned on? Is that a possibility? Because if the interest is mostly sports, I mean, people look up, there's a football game, you can see the score, or basketball game, you can see the score, so long as the sound is not turned on. I mean, obviously, if the sound is turned on and the neighbors complain, it will be a violation of the, I'm not sure if that's,
But if someone scores a goal and everyone goes, goal!
well, they're probably gonna do that regardless, whether the sound is on or not. But I'm just saying, for the convenience of those people who are, going and having a dinner, if the, usually TVs in outdoor spaces or even indoor spaces, you can't even hear because there's everyone talking and so forth. The sound is off.
We can
But-
deliberate that.
Okay.
We can deliberate
How's
that. Any other questions for staff? Go ahead, Ms. Wick.
Just a quick question. This is more, I guess, me kind of playing the devil's advocate here. Is it possible, or what would be the ramifications of having a traffic study and then having this item come back to the planning board? Is that possible or no?
Well, I guess the question is the nexus, because ultimately, the request is for a CUP for alcohol, and what we're actually talking about is like if someone was coming in and doing new land development project, that would trigger a new construction of a new parking lot, which would then require a traffic analysis. My suggestion, hopefully we can meet halfway, is that if we condition the project that we look at the configuration of the parking lots, they have to, one of the conditions that we're looking at is to restripe, slurry seal, restripe, make sure it's very visible what's going to be, but part of that parking lot design has to be reviewed by the city traffic engineer, is that we in essence get there to look at real-world conditions of how the parking lot is operating and how it's being used, and optimize that with the traffic engineer's input, the result of which would address some of the concerns. Because currently you have two parking lots that have one-way directional, the way the parking is angled, so it's sending everybody to the alley.
Right.
And then, that happens that even though you have one-way direction, you have other people that aren't aware of it, and they'll go in the path of traffic. So I think there's a way to reconfigure the parking lot with traffic engineer input. And as a result of that, I think we can improve the process. I don't think completely mitigate everything, but I think we can do a significant. Beyond the bounds of that, I think a traffic study would be a bit of a stretch, I think. So I think there's a handful of questions, but we can unpack those. I think the condition that we're talking about doing will get us to where you need to be, or where you want to get us to, Board Member Wick, and that is, let's take a look comprehensively at the parking layout with circulation and optimize it so that they can still use their parking lots, but do it in a way that addresses the concerns from the neighbors, so that we don't kind of bottle everything into the alley, and it's just kind of a misunderstanding of how do I get in and out of this space, which could create some traffic conflicts. And that's what's, I think, causing congestion in the alley, which is affecting the neighbors. Let me segue from that to, because unless there's more comments, I just want to make sure the project planner can comment, and then we'll piggyback on anything just to address the other questions that I heard. So you can go ahead, David.
Thank you, Fred. So to start with, Board Member Elric, about your comments about noise complaints for this project. We did ask our police department to look the past year, and in that conversation, the calls for services did not include noise complaints. We also, in addition, when the project was, when the last CUP came to the board back in 2020, we also talked with the police department about the calls of service regarding noise. And in that report, staff report, staff mentioned that there were no noise complaints received.
Okay.
In addition to that, there was a comment about consideration of implementing 1 hour parking on the right of way. That's because it's in the right of way. It's a matter that we would have to discuss separately with our transportation division and also our public works. But it's a separate matter from the alcohol CUP request before you. But it is a conversation that we could have with our colleagues in our other divisions.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead, David.
And then, in addition to the requirement of whether we can look at a traffic study, the request before you was reviewed under our California Environmental Quality Act, and it was determined that the project request before you is exempt from CEQA, so as an existing facilities. And therefore, as an exempt project, the additional requirements to look at traffic is not required.
Any other staff comments?
I think that was it from me.
Okay.
All right.
Just to add, Chair, if I may, questions regarding noise. I think to the point of one of the commenters in support of the project for the outdoor dining, in staff's review of the project, the idea of having outdoor dining with the serving of alcohol, with the conditions, right, that there not be the live entertainment, and that there not be camera or TVs, I'm sorry, whether they're turned off or not. The idea being that if the focus of that space is to provide additional space for people to dine and kind of work upon the things that have worked during the COVID period, staff's in support of that approach to have the outdoor dining. I think managing the parking, how we work with them to make it very clear where the parking is and how it circulates in and out of the site, I think those can be addressed through mitigation. I like sports too, Board Member Atikanian, so Vice Chair, so not to knock the TVs, but I think if you put them out there, you're creating a situation where, in theory, whether it's turned off or not, if it's a Raider game or a Chargers game or a Rams game or a soccer game, people are going to react to what they see on the TV. So you could get, late night or during the middle of the day excitement. So I think if the focus is to provide new opportunities for outdoor dining to support the restaurant, I think you can do that absent those other components and mitigate some of the impacts to the neighbors. I think working with the traffic engineer, so long as it's included as an option with the valet service, is that we look at reconfiguring the lot, see how it works best, and if that works without the need for the valet service, good. But if we find that as a result of it, and I would argue that if we look at this once implemented and determine that, valet service is still needed, to manage the parking. It's an option. It sounds like the applicant is amenable to that. I would encourage the board to consider that. But beyond that, I think they've seemed pretty receptive to implementing things and being a good neighbor. I'd hate to put the onus on a bartender or a manager to have to run out, and also on a resident, neighboring resident, to have to come and tell them that there's an issue, where in some instances, based on the design, if valet service is warranted, they would see a potential issue in the process of parking and say, hey, you can't park there. So I'd rather get to it before it becomes an issue than having people wanting to react. Because I think that's what's happening. That's what's creating some of the tension with the neighbors. And they seem, their track record, as you saw, calls for service and whatnot, have shown that they can be a good neighbor. They're a long-established business. I think these components that are being considered by the board with the updated conditions of approval will get us where we need to get to recommend approval.
Understood. Mr. Elder, do you have another question?
Oh, just about the tow-away zone, is that also traffic engineering?
Correct, yeah, and I'm a little hesitant as far as imposing on the restaurant the cost of a tow. I think there may be other ways to address that. So I would say one of the conditions is to look at working and pay for even signage. But maybe we work with the police department and traffic engineering to see what kind of measures can be made where it's not cost prohibitive to either party, both the resident and the business.
Mr. Atacania.
We talked about complaints regarding noise. Have there been any complaints, or do we keep track of complaints regarding parking, people parking in?
I think up until this point, correct me if I'm wrong, David, but we have not received any calls for service from the police department for any issues with the site.
And no calls to the city as far as, here's a restaurant and people are parking in my driveway?
Brett, so for this one, we did receive like calls for services, but we're not related to parking or noise.
Okay. What were they for, David?
There were some specifically about outside the restaurant. There were some calls about activities outside the parking lot,
Oh, okay.
but nothing related to noise or parking issues specifically.
So loitering?
Either I think it was one was about a transient that might have been there. There was calls about that happened in the alley, I believe.
Okay.
But related specific to the restaurant and its operational characteristics have not been called out in the past year.
Good.
Thank you.
Any more questions for applicant or the staff? Seeing none, I now declare the public hearing closed, and the planning board will deliberate. What is the planning board's pleasure? Mr. Anticani.
Well, Mr. Eaton made a sorry about that. Mr. Eaton made a passionate plea and reminded us the importance of institutions that have been in Burbank doing business, providing services and to the community. I take to heart, and it seems that the restaurant is doing well, because if the restaurant was not doing well, there would not be parking issues, there would not be other issues. So I'm happy for that, and hopefully we can somehow come up with some solutions. I can find conditions of approval as far as the first two conditions. I can support that, but don't think I'll be able to support a valet service. Restaurants are extremely tough business, low margins, and to impose, even to put that on the table, it costs a lot of money. I understand that valet services, sometimes they generate their own income by charging patrons and so forth and so on, so that has other implications as far as how that goes. So the idea that there be some restriping of the parking space, that in itself is a lot of cost to restripe, to reseal a parking so that you're able to restripe it, signage and so forth and so on, going through the process, paying fees. And I think that probably will address the issue. And I think that will probably satisfy the neighbor. And now that this has been brought to the forefront, the manager heard it firsthand that the neighbors, at least the immediate neighbors, have this issue. So he's going to be cognizant of this, and he's going to make sure that not only the patrons are happy, that the neighbors are happy. Because the neighbors are important too to the restaurant business, because you don't want angry neighbors. So I think I can support the first two conditions, but I wouldn't be able to support the third condition as far as implementing a valet service in the event that the parking and so forth is not sufficient. I mean, it's been operating for 50 years. So suddenly this doesn't become, it doesn't become an issue 50 years later. The transportation mode is still the same, cars. So that's what I have on this one.
Okay. I'll jump in and just say I concur. It's been there a long time. You heard the manager say things like, we have extra pickup and trash so that there's not stinky trash laying around. We have the trash bins cleaned on a regular basis so they don't smell. This is not a situation that we currently have on Olive with the chicken place. This is much different. I think having the parking lot with clear signage and restriping will certainly help. I don't think we have an ongoing issue with I think it's an occasional issue with the neighbor, but I think if we post the signage better, it'll probably alleviate that problem. I too don't want to impose on a small business valet parking. This is not, a big national company where they can afford valet parking. And I think with common sense and a little bit of neighborly love, please move your car, this is not the right place, or putting up the proper signage, that will probably handle the situation. I am in agreement with the last condition of having the traffic engineer go out there and help them with the restriping process and going out there and showing them the lay of the land, but I would omit the valet parking. Any other comments from our board members? Ms. Wick?
Yes, I'll just make an additional comment that I concur with you. I don't want to impose any unnecessary fees on a small business. I think we are all a little gun shy just because of, as you said, the chicken place. I don't think this is the issue, but I wouldn't be opposed to the valet parking requirement just as a safety net for anything else. From the sound of it, it sounds like that's a pretty highly unlikely situation. And just, I would encourage the neighbors, if they're watching, who wrote in, to have a discussion with the restaurant and the restaurant to reach out to the neighbors as well. Because this is a family restaurant, it's a family neighborhood, and I would encourage them to work together. I've personally, in my own neighborhood, worked with a neighboring restaurant because we had a trash situation, and we were able to reach a resolution without involving the city, without involving the police, and everybody's agreeable, and it's a great restaurant in my neighborhood. It's not Granada, I'm not saying I live there, because I don't. But that's what I would recommend. But I'm not really going to get into a debate or fight over the valet parking. It's really not that important to me, but I wouldn't mind it as a safety net if that's the pleasure, but I'm not going to really get into a fight over it either.
Chair Rosati, if I may
Yeah,
add one
go ahead.
more thing.
Yeah.
And reading the email, or the letter, I should say, submitted by the neighbor, the condition one, they ask for the parking, they say restructures parking and so forth and signage, and that's being accommodated. That we are adding that as a condition. And the second condition, I'm reading from It's at the bottom where they've made suggestion. And the second condition is signs posted. So, and that too is being delivered. So in that regard, I think this will be, and this is what they requested. They made suggestions and said perhaps this could be incorporated in the conditional use permit, and they are being incorporated in the conditional use permit. So I think all parties should be satisfied at this juncture, where the request is being implemented, and the restaurant management just said that they would be more than willing to do so.
Mr. Eldridge?
I agree with everything you guys said about, getting traffic and engineering. We are addressing the issues here. The only issue that I didn't feel like was addressed is if I am a resident, this is a residential neighborhood, and in front of the restaurant there's an open space, it looks like park, and I'm getting home late and someone is parked in my spot, it's after 10 o'clock, the restaurant's going to be open till midnight now, and now I'm tired, I just want to park in my parking spot and get inside my home. So having the restaurant open till midnight, I think would impose on the neighbors a little bit too much. And that's the only thing that, making an amendment that they keep their hours till 10 p.m.
I think the longer hours would benefit the neighbors too, in this, and I'll explain how. Because I think people going to the restaurant are not limited to, okay, well, you know what, we need to get in at a certain time, we need to leave at a certain time. And that may eliminate some of the traffic concerns. Because now if you have longer hours, then the same amount of people that were going to go to the restaurant, now you stretch it out, the 500 people are going to go to the restaurant today. Let's say their daily average is 500 to 600 patrons. It'll stretch it out to being, okay, well, not 250 of them will show up at a certain time. There'll be less number of individuals at the space, at the restaurant, because they have longer hours. So, but I understand what you're saying, the parking in the sense that if I show up at home, I'd be angry too if someone's parked in my space. But I think the restriping of the parking space, the parking lot, and the signage should eliminate that. And the neighbors are obviously, whoever wrote this, Kimberly Jimenez, who wrote this, can just pick up the phone and say, you know what, you guys the city approved this, and I'm having the same problems. And these are the specific days that it happened. These are the specific cars, plate numbers, and say, we need to address this, or address it with the, just like Ms. Wick suggested, address it with the restaurant management. So I think the more, anyway, that's my comment on it.
The opposite could be true too, though. They could just be busy all day long, and getting home after 10 o'clock and not being able to park in your parking space is miserable.
Let me ask a quick question. If we wanted to look at this a year from now, see how everything went, and a year from now we're having this issue, could we impose the valet then?
Sorry. You can it's within the purview of the board to ask if you need to have it reviewed in a year.
Yes.
That can be a condition.
Okay.
If as part of that condition, there are the possibility of adding
Yes. Okay.
requirements to mitigate parking, that could be part of it.
Okay, that's going to be part of my deliberation is, why don't we just, one step, two step. Let's try the striping. Let's try the signage. And then if a year from now, when we review this and we're having the same issues, then we can look at imposing the valet parking.
I support that.
Same here. I concur.
Okay.
I can support that too, and I just want to let anybody know watching, call the police department if you have a complaint so that we have it on record. Otherwise, we don't know, and you're just sending these communications with, when it's too late, basically.
Okay.
One thing just to clarify, and the city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but the one thing we would do is just because if you approve it tonight, you're granting them an entitlement that runs with the land. We don't want to kind of open that back up. However, in the condition, which at this point I think is like 32. 32. I think we're going to consolidate. I think we might be able to get them all in, and it'll just be one condition, and I'll walk you through it. But if we make it one of those things where, you know, they work with the city, do the parking lot redesign, work with the city traffic engineer, we assess it at a year's time to see how effective it's working. And as a result of that, if the traffic engineer determines that additional measures are needed, we can report those back to the board, i.e. an update. However, the traffic engineer would be the one making that final decision based on the assessment of conditions. Because what it does is it allows the project to go forward, and it doesn't turn it into kind of a reopening of it. It's really more, okay, we're going to implement what's necessary under the city's traffic engineer requirements, which has specific standards to operate. If you do it that way, I think you're good, because if not, it's almost like saying you're going to have a new hearing a year from now. And I don't think that's what you're saying. I think you're saying report to us in a year how effective it's been and what, if any, outcomes were recommended by the traffic engineer at that year's end.
Yes.
Perfect.
If there's no other comment, if somebody wants to make the appropriate motion as amended.
And for the amendment, just to clarify, one thing, because you mentioned the thing with the TV, I just want to be clear, is that, I know there's been some discussion, but I'm not
TV's
sure.
out.
TV's out, okay.
Yeah, right?
Well, I guess that's a discussion, but if we're going to amend, I would say on Exhibit A-8, item number 23, at the end of that condition, it says live entertainment is not allowed on the project site. However, there's been discussion of live entertainment in the building versus outside. So for the commission's consideration, board's consideration, I'm recommending that you all evaluate it and then determine whether it's feasible. Is live entertainment is not allowed adding outside of the restaurant building on the project site. So what that means is outdoors, it wouldn't be, but they could theoretically have it inside the building.
That's the way I read it.
It's not the way we wrote it, though. I know that's how you read it, but I just want to make sure that's not the way we wrote it. So I just want to make sure, for the record, that's in there. And then you've already heard the discussion on what would be condition 32, which would deal with signage and parking lot redesign, and then a year's time from now coming back to you to update you on what the outcome of that review and assessment by the traffic engineer was. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have an amendment to so if everyone wants to take a crack at the motion and just say as amended, as we just agreed upon.
Yes, same idea, just tell me if I'm putting it in the right place, but I'm making a motion to approve a resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Burbank approving a conditional use permit, project number 21-000-3276, allowing the expansion of the incidental sale of alcohol for on-site consumption to the proposed rear 675 square feet outdoor dining area of the existing Granada restaurant located at 1100 West Victory Boulevard, based on the findings of fact and subject to the recommendation and condition of approval as amended.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any clarification or more deliberation needed?
To ask about the hours, if anybody else felt the same, or no?
I'm good with the hours. Okay.
Yes, I'm good with
Ms.
I'm good with the hours. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was saying I'm good with the hours as here. I don't feel we need to get into a discussion about the hours. My only sticking point is no on the TV. So that's.
We don't, the TVs are out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify, TVs are out. Got it.
TVs are out. Billiard tables are in, TVs are out. All right. We have a motion, we have a second. Please poll the board members.
Board Member Wick,
Yes.
Board Member Monaco,
Yes.
Chair Rosati,
Yes.
Vice Chair Atakunian,
Yes, as amended.
Board Member Elric.
Yes.
We have, congratulations, your CP's been granted. Thank you all for your lively discussion and input. It's always helpful. Moving on to item number 2. Now is the time and place for hearing on project number 220003-291, a request for a conditional use permit to allow the incidental sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits at an existing restaurant, BB Cafe, located at 2411 Burbank Boulevard. Before we begin, do any planning board members have any conflict of interest regarding this hearing, financial, legal, or other?
No.
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 No. Have any planning board members had any communications, including written, oral, with the applicant, the applicant's representative, or any other person?
No.
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 Mr. Ramirez, have the notices as required by law been given?
Yes, they have.
Are there any written communications on this matter?
We did not receive any comments on this item.
Will the representative of the Community Development Department please introduce yourself and summarize the matter, please?
Good
Sir.
evening. Good evening, Chair Rosati, members of the Planning Board. My name is Xavier Thomas, Associate Planner for the Community Development Department. May I please have the presentation? This evening, I'm presenting a conditional use request for the project located at 2411 West Burbank Boulevard. The project site is located on the northeast corner of West Burbank Boulevard and Buena Vista Street. The project site is currently improved with one two-story commercial building that totals approximately 7,552 square feet. There are a total of 2 tenants on the property, a medical office and a restaurant. The BB Cafe restaurant is the tenant that has applied for the conditional use permit application we are discussing tonight. The property has a parking lot with 34 parking spaces, which includes 2 ADA-compliant parking spaces. The project site is zoned C3, Commercial General Business, and has a general plan designation of Corridor Commercial. The general plan land use designation is intended to provide small pockets of neighborhood-serving uses that allow residents the opportunity to walk from nearby residential neighborhoods to meet a few of their daily needs. As discussed in the subsequent slides, it is staff's assessment that this project meets the intent of the underlying general plan land use designation. Additionally, the project site is surrounded by a single-family residential and multifamily residential to the north and commercial buildings to the east and west. Some important background regarding the BB Cafe restaurant. The restaurant has been operational at 2411 West Burbank Boulevard since April 2022. They provide both takeout and sit-down restaurant services. The business hours of operations are from Monday to Sunday, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. The city has not received any noise or operational complaints related to the business. This is an image of the existing site plan. The property is improved with existing commercial buildings and a service parking lot. The tenant space for BB Cafe is highlighted with a red line. Another thing I'd like to highlight is that the restaurant operates with outdoor seating areas that are located off Burbank Boulevard and Buena Vista Street. The area of the outdoor seating is identified with a yellow box. The applicant is requesting planning board approval of a conditional use permit to allow for the on-site consumption of beer, wine, and distilled spirits in conjunction with the ongoing operations of an existing restaurant. The restaurant would operate as it has since April 2022, with the exception that the applicant is requesting non-amplified live music in the form of acoustic guitar player during specific hours of operation. We will discuss these in the next slide. Planning board approval of the conditional use permit would give the applicant the opportunity of applying for an alcohol license with the California Department of Alcohol Beverage Control, also known as ABC. ABC is an agency of the government of the state of California charged with regulation of alcoholic beverages. As mentioned, the applicant's hours of operation are from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. daily. As conditioned, outdoor dining would be limited to no earlier than 9 a.m. and no later than 10 p.m. The applicant is requesting that there be indoor-only live music as part of the operations Friday from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. and Saturday to Sunday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. On the screen are other operational characteristics that the business would be subject to ensure compatibility with the surrounding uses. Some of these include at least 65% of the gross sales revenue of the establishment must be from food sales. Alcohol sales would only occur during the same business hours as food is sold. There is no dancing at the establishment. Indoor live entertainment would be limited to indoor non-amplified music. It would only be permitted between the hours of 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Fridays and 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. No amplified music would be allowed. Additionally, no open alcoholic beverage may leave the premises, and the applicant will be required to provide employee training in alcoholic beverage compliance, crime prevention techniques, and the handling of violence. In addition to these, there are other operational conditions of approval included as part of Exhibit A titled Resolution. This is an image of the restaurant's existing floor plan. It would remain the same. No changes are being proposed. Both indoor and outdoor seating are provided. Outdoor seating is all located on private property. As part of staff's review of a conditional use permit, the project was reviewed for consistency with the Burbank 2035 general plan, the applicable zoning regulations, and the required conditional use permit findings. As identified in staff's report, it is staff's assessment that with the associated conditions of approval, the project complies with all applicable requirements. As outlined in staff's report and this presentation, it is staff's assessment that with the associated conditions of approval, the project complies with all applicable requirements. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. I will now invite the applicant or their representative to address the planning board. You'll have a maximum time of 15 minutes.
Good evening. I'm the applicant's representative. My name is Will Nieves. My address is 21250 Hawthorne Boulevard, Torrance, California, 90503. The applicant is also here present in the audience as well. Just to give you some context on this application, Mr. Yigikian also owns another restaurant in the city of Glendale. It's called Cafe Corner Bistro. It mimics this particular establishment in that they also have live entertainment on the hour stated before you, and they also have alcohol as well. They've been operating that establishment for a number of years and haven't had a problem at that location. Mr. Yigikian also is involved in catering the Starlight Bowl that your city has every year in the summer, so he's very familiar with the rules and regulations of the city. And this location used to be called California Eatery and Bakery. It didn't do very well. It closed after, I think, a couple of years of operation, and BB Cafe will now be operating there. They're going to operate the restaurant as a American diner in an upscale environment. It'll have same comfort foods that you see in a lot of upscale American diners where you would have full breakfasts, lunch, and dinner. And we don't propose to operate during the late night hours. That's why we're proposing to close at 11 p.m., just like the previous restaurant had hours of operation. We're just asking to have beer and wine and distilled spirits because a restaurant cannot operate without that. There's other restaurants in the area that have beer and wine and hard liquor, and we want to be on the same level as they are. And there aren't any over-concentration of licenses in the area. There's no undue crime. I think it would be a very good application.
Well, thank you.
Any questions?
We'll get to that.
Should I stay here or should I?
Why don't you be seated while we take public comment?
All right.
But thank you. No other comment. We will now open up the meeting to hear from any persons who wish to speak on this matter. Each person may address the planning board for a maximum time of 3 minutes. For members of the public who wish to comment in person, please present the completed speaker card to the planning division staff if you wish to speak. For persons or members of the public that wish to speak by telephone, please call 818-238-3335 to address the planning board. Callers will be placed in the queue. After all persons' comments have been received. The phone lines are now open. Please bear with us as we take a few minutes to get the first few callers through the line. Please remember to lower your volume on your TV or your computer and take your phone off speaker when you deliver your comment. Do we have anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this matter? And do we have anyone on the phone?
No calling at this time.
Yeah, we haven't received speaker cards, and there's no one in the queue on the phone line.
Okay. There be no further comment. I now declare the public comment period closed. Would the representative of the Community Development Department like to make any further comments?
No further comments, Chair.
Okay. Does the applicant wish to make any further comments? No. That's a no from the applicant. Does the planning board have any questions for staff or the applicant? I have questions for the applicant.
I have questions for the applicant as well.
Come on back up, please. Mr. Monaco, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry I dragged you up here. I just had a quick clarification on something. So these alcohol sales are going to happen during the period where they're serving food?
Yes, from 6 a.m. until 11 p.m. at night.
So I can get a martini with my breakfast burrito?
Well, typically what happens in the morning is you could have your champagne or mimosa. Most people don't come in and get a martini. But yes, technically someone could get a martini that early in the morning.
Shaken, not stirred.
Okay, you have a go-to place now.
Grey Goose is fine. Okay, I'm just a little taken aback by that there isn't a limitation as to when alcohol is being served, but
A Bloody Mary also qualifies.
Sure does.
What's a Bloody Mary? I don't drink Bloody Marys. Yeah, I have, other than that, that was my only question.
My question is, your clients, do they operate the restaurant personally, or do they have a manager there?
They operate them personally, and a manager is also present at all times at the establishment. They've just hired a new chef. They've hired a new manager. He does own another restaurant, as I had mentioned to you, in Glendale. He lives in the area, so him and his staff and his family are always nearby, but there's always someone present that's involved from up above, rather than just having managers operating.
Okay. Mr. Eldridge, any other questions for the applicant? Ms. Wick?
Just wanted to clarify, the live entertainment is meant to be a supplement so people could enjoy music while they're eating. This isn't meant to be like you go see the specific acoustic guitarist.
No, it's the same player that has been playing at Cafe Corner Bistro. He plays non-amplified music. It's very soft. It's not rock. It's not heavy metal or anything like that. It's just soft instrumental music as background, kind of a Mediterranean type of music that's being played.
Got it, I figured, so there's not going to be like a rager with
No.
guitar.
And you
Got
could
it.
go anytime to Cafe Corner Bistro during those same hours and hear that same guitar player playing.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, I just had one question for staff. Did we do our due diligence and check on Glendale and that establishment? Any issues there?
I was aware that they did operate a restaurant in Glendale. I did not check with Glendale PD to see if there's any noise complaints there. But I have walked by. I do live in Glendale. I've seen the restaurant. It looks fine. But again, I have not checked with Glendale PD to see if there's any complaints from that establishment.
Okay. Yes, sir.
How long has the Glendale operation been in existence?
Well, I've known Zorik about 10 years and 12 years.
Okay.
At the other location.
Any police issues? For the record, none. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I now declare the public hearing closed, and now the planning board will deliberate. What is the planning board's pleasure? Mr. Atakanian.
Well, I'm able to make the findings. I think it's a simple, straightforward beer and wine, and for them to be competitive with the surrounding restaurants, obviously, it's needed, and they meet all the requirements. So it should be. I'm able to support it, the resolution.
Okay.
Likewise.
Okay.
I concur. The corner's been a lot of things over the years, and well, not really a lot of things. And I think in order to be competitive, they need this, and I wish them luck.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion? Or did you have a comment? No. Okay. Anyone want to make the appropriate motion?
I'll make a motion for resolution. Motion for resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Burbank approving project number 22-000-3291, a conditional use permit allowing the incidental sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits for on-site consumption at an existing BB Cafe restaurant located at 2411 West Burbank Boulevard, based on the findings of fact and subject to the attached conditions of approval.
We have a motion.
I second.
We have a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, will you poll the board, please?
Board Member Wick?
Yes.
Board Member Monaco?
Yes.
Chair Rosati?
Yes.
Vice Chair Atikunian?
Yes.
And Board Member Elric?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Motion passes. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay. Item number 3, now is the time and place for hearing on project number 22-0005290, a request for a conditional use to operate a restaurant drinking establishment, Dillywell Tavern Restaurant at 4201 West Olive Avenue. Before we begin, do any planning board members have any financial, legal, or other conflict of interest regarding this hearing?
No.
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 Have any planning board members had any communications, including written, oral, with the applicant, the representative, or any other person?
No.
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 No. Mr. Ramirez, no. And Mr. Ramirez, have the notices by law been given?
Yes, they have.
Are there any written communications on this matter?
We have not received any written communications on this matter.
And will the representative of the Community Development Department please introduce yourself and summarize the matter for us?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
members of the board. My name is Joseph Onyebuchi. I'm an associate planner with the Planning Division of the Community Development Department. Can I please have the presentation, please? For your consideration tonight is project number 22-0005290, an application for a conditional use permit at the proposed Idlewild Tavern Restaurant located at 4201 West Olive Avenue. The project applicant is Michaela Fiorno of Idlewild Tavern Restaurant, and she is here in attendance tonight, along with her attorney. The project site is located at 4201 West Olive Avenue, outlined in red on the aerial photograph, and located at the corner of Toluca Lake Avenue and West Olive Avenue. The project site is 2,699 square feet. The project site is currently developed with a 1,569 square foot two-story building and a paved surface lot behind the building. The project site is located at 4201 West Olive Avenue, outlined in red within the MDC2, or the Media District Commercial Zone. The MDC2 zone is intended to serve the retail and service needs of the Media District business community and the adjacent residential neighborhood. The project site, identified here with the yellow star, has a Media District Commercial General Plan Land Use Designation. This General Plan Land Use Designation is intended to facilitate media-oriented and commercial uses, such as this neighborhood-serving restaurant drinking establishment. The previous restaurant at this location operated under an approved conditional use permit. However, that conditional use permit expired upon the sale of the business to the applicant. The applicant is proposing a restaurant/drinking establishment at this location. Pursuant to Burbank Municipal Code Section 10-1-1116.1, Planning Board approval of a CUP is required for any establishment proposing to sell alcoholic beverages for on-premises or off-premises consumption. Therefore, the application is subject to the approval of a CUP. Now, approval of the CUP would allow the applicant to use a Type 47 alcohol license permitting the on-site sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits for on-site consumption, and the on-site sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption only. The restaurant is proposed to operate from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. Monday through Sunday. The sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits is proposed to take place within the restaurant's proposed operating hours only, with alcohol service proposed to end 30 minutes before closing. Before I move on, I do just want to call your attention to one minor inconsistency in the staff report. I had the hours of operation as 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. Monday through Friday, but as I just said, they are Monday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 12 a.m., and those are the hours that we have in the resolution with the development conditions as well. The existing two-story restaurant building, highlighted in blue, has a total floor area of 1,569 square feet, which includes a bar, kitchen, and seating area on the ground floor, as well as office space on the second floor. No exterior improvements to the existing building or paved lot are proposed. The applicant is proposing minor interior improvements to the tenant space, which will be reviewed under a separate permit. The project site includes existing surface parking, which is available for use at the rear of the building. The parking for the site was approved as a variance under Planning Board Resolution number 1373, which permitted 3 spaces in lieu of the required 13. Staff has determined that allowing the Type 47 ABC license at this project site would be consistent with the city's zoning code regarding the type of use allowed in the MDC2 zone and the Media District Commercial General Plan land use designation by facilitating a neighborhood serving commercial use, continuation of a restaurant drinking establishment at the project site subject to the recommended conditions of approval. There are similar retail uses in the vicinity of the site, and furthermore, the site has accommodated a restaurant use serving the surrounding community since 1962. A total of 7 licenses are permitted in Census Tract number 3116.02, with 6 recorded as active, while 1, the former Chow Christina, is recorded as surrendered. The proposed business Idlewild Tavern Restaurant seeks to reactivate the existing license already permitted by ABC for the prior business. The 6 other permitted licenses are located within a half-mile of the project site, and with the exception of the property located at 4000 Warner Boulevard, which is TBS Warner Brothers Studio facilities, they are similar in use to the proposed restaurant drinking establishment. And as mentioned previously, the project site has accommodated a restaurant use since 1962, and city records indicate that a Type 47 alcohol license has been active on this site since 1983. Although the license has been transferred between owners on this site several times, the use has remained generally consistent. Public notice for this planning board hearing was provided in accordance with state and local laws, and as of today's hearing, no public comments have been received. The City of Burbank Police Department reported no nuisance or distress calls at this location. Staff has proposed conditions of approval that will ensure the use does not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood. Staff recommends conditions including, but not limited to, dancing at the establishment, no dancing at the establishment, alcohol sales only occurring during the same business hours as food is sold, no illuminated alcohol advertising to be located on the storefront windows or doors, and no loitering or public drinking signs to be posted inside or outside of the facility. As previously noted, the proposed request to secure a CUP for a restaurant/drinking establishment is consistent with the city's zoning code requirements and consistent with the general plan land use designation by providing a neighborhood serving commercial use that is complementary to the surrounding residential and commercial land uses without creating a potential adverse impact to the public health, safety, and welfare. Therefore, staff recommends the planning board approve the CUP application based on the determination that all of the required findings can be made for project number 22-0005290 and adopt the attached resolution with the proposed conditions of approval. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions that the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I will now invite the applicant or their representative to address the planning board for a maximum time of 15 minutes to make your presentation.
Good evening, Chairman Rosati and members of the Planning Board. My name is Michaela Fiore, and I'm here as the owner and operator of the proposed Idlewild Tavern in Burbank. I am a female entrepreneur currently overseeing and managing one of my family's 3 restaurants we've operated and opened throughout the country. Upon becoming involved in our successful restaurant in Idlewild, California, named the Idlewild Brew Pub, I knew it would become my mission to bring this amazing atmosphere to our Burbank community. Because of my family's long-standing dedication to the small mountain town of Idlewild, we spared no expense to purchase that property and remodel the now successful Idlewild Brew Pub. Through these efforts, we were lucky enough for the Idlewild community to not only accept us, but make us into the most popular and beloved restaurant in Idlewild. Along with amazing views and quality atmosphere, our brewmaster makes the best artisan beer, in my very biased opinion. Locals and tourists alike praise our beer, and I plan to offer the same taste of Idlewild at the Burbank restaurant by being the only location outside of the small town to offer our brew pub beer. Along with good beer must come good food. I have carefully curated a unique menu featuring specialty burgers and sandwiches, salads, shareable plates, options for those with dietary restrictions, and grain and noodle bowls that are takeout friendly, since I would never forget about our Warner Brothers neighbor just across the street. The Idlewild Tavern at our Burbank location will fill a niche in the surrounding area not offered by other nearby restaurants by providing a consistent and comfortable place to drop in for a bite with friends after work, share an intimate first date, or celebrate your 50th wedding anniversary. As a woman, I appreciate when I can rely on a restaurant to always make me feel safe and comfortable. That involves keeping music levels low enough to hear the person across from you, promoting a positive and friendly community, and always serving alcohol responsibly. Community will always be extremely important to me. I learned the value of community by watching my grandparents do whatever it takes to make the Idlewild Brew Pub into something the locals can be proud of. Throughout the success of the restaurant, they have always prioritized giving back to the community through sponsoring the annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony at a park in the center of town that they built and maintain, being principal benefactors of the Idlewild Community Center and Amphitheater, and even remodeling the town hall. Burbank is and always will be my community. Along with purchasing the property in which this restaurant sits, I recently purchased a home within 1 mile of my restaurant. I'm looking forward to riding my bike there every day and making the Idlewild Tavern into something Burbank will be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now open up the meeting to hear from any persons who wish to speak on this matter. Each person may address the planning board for a maximum time of 3 minutes. For members of the public who wish to comment in person, please present the completed speaker card to the planning division staff if you wish to speak. For persons or members of the public that wish to comment by telephone, please call 818-238-3335 to address the planning board. Callers will be placed in a queue until all comments have been received. The phone lines are now open. Please bear with us as we take a couple of minutes to get the first few callers through the line. Just remember to please turn off your speaker, turn down your TV and your computer. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers tonight on the phone or any cards?
We do not.
We do not. Okay. There being no further comment period, I now declare the public comment period closed. Would the representative of the Community Development Department like to make any further comments?
I guess maybe just a clarification, I apologize. I heard the speakers. Did you mention you were interested in having some live entertainment in the building? Oh, no. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure.
Well, that antenna went right up.
All
right. Would the representative of the Community Development Department like to make any further comments?
No comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does the applicant wish to make any further comments?
Yes, I just want to note the opening time will actually be 10:30. It's in the proposed. And he had said 11. I just want to make that clear.
Yes, the hours of operation, like they say in condition 12, are 10:30 a.m. to 12 a.m.
Yeah.
Monday through Sunday.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for staff or the applicant? Seeing none, I now declare the public hearing closed, and how would the board like to deliberate? Or I'd take a motion. Whatever you want.
Can I just make a motion?
Yes? We can have a motion, we can have a second, we can deliberate
All
during
right.
that.
Resolution of, the proposing motion for resolution of the planning board of the city of Burbank approving project number 22-0005290 conditional use permit to operate a 1,569 square foot restaurant / drinking establishment based on the findings of fact and subject to the attached conditions of approval and the times as noted.
Yes.
Of operation as noted.
We have a motion,
I second.
we have a second. Is there any more discussion on this matter?
Just like to wish you luck on your endeavors.
Good luck, and this was the most thorough staff report I have ever read in my life. So thank you to staff or whoever compiled this.
No more discussion? Why don't you go ahead and poll us, please?
Board Member Wick,
Yes.
Board Member Monaco,
Yes.
Chair Rosati,
Yes.
Vice Chair Takunian,
Yes.
and Board Member Elric.
Yes.
See, after the third one, I will agree, I like your presentation. Are you new?
I've been here since January, but this is maybe my third or fourth presentation.
Yeah, I
so
enjoyed
Thank
your
you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
All
job.
of your presentation, but just, you did a good job.
I appreciate it. It's really a testament to Amanda, my manager, and Fred and Scott for preparing me. So
Well, Amanda's one of the best. Good luck with your business.
Thank you.
Now is the time for oral communication from any public, for anyone in the public. Any person speaking this period may address the planning board on any matter concerning city business. Each person may address the planning board for a maximum time of 3 minutes. For members of the public who wish to comment in person, please present, there's nobody here, a card. Or if you'd like to call in, 818-238-3335 to address the planning board. Do we have anyone?
We do not.
Public comment? Nothing?
No.
None. Okay, great. There being no further public comment, I now declare the public comment period closed. Any staff reports?
No additional staff reports beyond what you've already received. Yeah.
Okay. Now is the time to approve the minutes. If we all had a chance to review the minutes, if we can get a motion for that.
I'll have to pass, I wasn't there.
I move to approve the planning board minutes from November 14th, 2022.
Okay, we have a motion.
I second.
And we have a second. No discussion. Go ahead and poll the board, please.
Board Member Wick,
Yes.
Board Member Monaco,
I was not there. I forgot that.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Abstain. Abstention is noted.
Chair Rosati,
Yes.
Vice Chair Takunian,
Abstain.
Board Member Elric.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Now is the time for introduction of additional agenda items. Planning board members may introduce new items for discussion, but no action may take place except to place it on a future agenda. Do any planning board members have anything to introduce?
Yes.
Mr. Eldred.
I would like to propose an agenda item to codify what we discussed at the last planning board meeting with the elevation. Because we all pretty much thought it was pointless for them to have come. So maybe codifying something for residential properties and something separate for commercial.
If I can get
Yes.
just get clarification.
Yeah.
I believe, Board Member Elwood, correct me if I'm wrong, what you're referring to is there was an item that came before you at the last meeting for a conditional use permit to consider the average height so that we could determine, basically the height of the building. And that was through a CUP process. So it's an objective development standard. I just want to inform you that that particular project has been appealed by one of the neighbors. So it's going to go before the council at a future meeting in 2023. So one thing I would suggest is duly noted that you'd like us to look at that particular issue as far as how we measure height and how it affects plate height maximums, which I think that's what you were getting at. What I would suggest is duly noted that that's something that you're interested and maybe the rest of the board is interested in looking at. We are supposed to provide, if you'll recall, within a year's time of the last amendment to R1, an update to the council on how things have been going as far as the effectiveness of implementation. Are there any issues, any outstanding items? What I would suggest, if you're so desire, is to allow us to duly noted that concern and whether that be considered by the council when we do the update. And if they give us direction to look at that as part of maybe a cleanup zone text amendment, that we incorporate that into it. But duly noted, it'll be in the record. And when we go to them around April, which is the time, we'll note that that was a issue of concern, amongst others, that you've noted previously.
Okay, so it'll be a recommendation at the appeal with council.
The appeal will be in and of itself its own hearing, but we are required, when they adopted the changes to the R1 standards, to report back to the council within a year's time, so around April, on the effectiveness of the changes to the code and any additional changes that may be warranted. So we can include that for them to consider changes, including what you're saying is how do we, in essence, codify what currently is a discretionary process. If we make that an objective by right standard, we can do that. So if you will entertain the idea of when staff goes and presents an update to the council to include that particular comment from yourself, and if the board so desires, from the collective board, we can do that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
I just got one question. Is it possible to put the names of the applicant on the first page of the recommendation? Because it's just the name of the person. I know her name is Michaelia, for instance. I didn't hear the last name.
I'm sorry, in the resolution or?
And whatever, on the first page.
In the staff
of
report?
summary. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I would just like to
if
have
they give us a name, and it's not like an LLC, we will put that in there.
Just
Totally.
want to know the individual. Put a face on the
Sure.
deal.
Okay, now is the time for city planner comments and any comments from the city planner.
Just wanted to, it is end of year, close to end of year. This will be our last meeting before we come back in the new year. You'll come back as the Planning Commission. That's been a name change that's been done. So from Planning Board to Planning Commission, we have 3 specific plans in the queue that are being updated. So in the coming year, there'll be presentations to you in an update on that effort, as well as potentially considering new objective development standards. In addition to that, there are going to be zone text amendments that you'll be considering in the new year. As you've been tracking probably, we have firearms, drive-through, SB9, and I'm trying to think what other one. There's at least 3, if not, I think there's a 4th one, I'm missing it. But, updates to the ADU regulations, junior ADUs. There's an urgency ordinance going tomorrow to council, and then we'll come back with zone text amendments. So in the coming year, hopefully you're all relaxed and ready to go. But there's going to be a lot of work for you to review, and just wanted to kind of let you know there's quite a bit of work that you'll be tasked as a group. So I'm glad we have a full board going forward. And beyond that, I just wanted to thank you all for all your work this past year, both for the new commissioners as well as those that have been around. Really appreciate it. You're always very professional. You ask very good questions. And at the end of the day, the outcome is one that we get a better project out of that. So wanted to thank you personally and wish you and your families a happy holidays. I'll go so far as to say Merry Christmas, but don't hold it to me. But yes, happy holidays for all of you. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Does the name change come with a pay raise?
It will help me from not confusing, going back and forth, calling you board and commissioners. Now I can just say, I'm used to, my 22 years, it's always been planning commission, but in the city of Burbank, it's been planning board. Well, now it'll be planning commission.
So I guess the answer is no.
Yes, I dodged that answer, but yes, you're right.
Merry Christmas to you too, Fred, and everyone else.
Thank you for all the reports tonight. I have one more question, but now I forgot. Oh,
Sure.
man. Never mind.
There's always next.
Okay, so we now adjourn the planning board meeting on Monday, January 9, 2023 at 6 p.m. The planning board meeting of December 26th, the day after Christmas, has been canceled. This meeting will be held in person in the City Council chambers at 275 East Olive Avenue. The public is invited to attend the meeting in person. To view the meeting online, you can also provide public comment in the following ways: in person, or leave an e-comment at the www.burbankca.gov/ecomments, or by calling 818-238-3335. Thank you, everyone, for your participation, your hard work, staff, the city attorney's office. We love the back and forth. It's probably a great way, a great outcome for our residents to have the back and forth, and I just wish everyone a happy holiday and a Merry Christmas. Mr. Eldridge, go ahead.
I just have one question I remembered. Okay. When you guys present these reports and you have the zoning map in there, do you use the zoning map that's in the general plan or the zoning ordinance map?
So the zoning map is a zoning map, and then we have the general plan land use map. So we include both. There are different designations for both of those. So that's what you're seeing. So we use the latest zoning map as well as the latest general plan land use map.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
That was the last question of 2022.
Yes, it was.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.